Hey everybody, welcome back to Branded Basics. This is going to be episode 4, I believe. So in this one, we're going to talk about all the engines that you might play alongside your standard branded package. I just want to start by saying all of these are viable. So if you don't agree with my ratings, that's okay. You can still play them. The fact that they're even brought up in this list means that they're good enough to be considered and therefore good enough to be tried or played, or, you know, if you have access to them, have at it. Feel free to experiment, guys. Just because somebody says that engine A is good and engine B is total trash, you can tell them to F off and you can try whatever the heck you want and, you know, give it a go. The only way that you can really decide which ones are the best is by trying it for yourself. So with that being said, rant over, let's jump on in to the engine rankings. Alright guys, so here's how this is going to work. I have a spreadsheet here of the 7 most relevant engines, in my opinion, that you can play alongside branded. I'm going to be rating each of these by 4 different criteria. So first is versatility. How much can you change your board if you have this engine? Next one I have is go first. How much can it improve your biggest board going first? For going second, it's how good is the engine at breaking boards or preventing your opponent from building one in the first place? And then space required. So obviously you can't play all of these. And the smaller engines have a little bit more bonus because you can get all of the benefits with fewer cards, and you know, you can have the ability to play more alternate engines or alternate techs. So those are the 4 criteria going into the total, and I'm also going to address cost because I know a lot of you guys are more budget random players, and that's totally fine, but I don't want cost to weigh into the total rankings of how good the engine is, because that's more of an individual basis, a budget basis, but I do want to address it because a lot of you guys are concerned about the cost of these things. So I'm going to give each of these a rating of 1 through 5, and then we'll see which ones have the biggest total. So let's start with Fusion Deployment. So Fusion Deployment package, I'm assuming, is 3 deployment and 1 Blazing Cartesia. Now this is kind of iffy because you may be playing Blazing Cartesia anyway, even if you're not playing the Fusion Deployment package. But anyways, I assume you have to play these cards if you're playing deployment. For versatility of Fusion Deployment, I am going to really crank this one up. I'm going to give it a 4. And that's because going deployment into Cartesia opens up your whole line of play using Grand Guignol as an option, and Grand Guignol can really dig into your deck for whatever you need. It can send anything in the extra deck for whatever you need and really kind of just get you your follow-up. It can dump Albion. It's if you guys watched episode 2, which is how to play through Handtraps, literally like every hand trap, the way to play through it is with Fusion Deployment into Cartesia to continue Fusion summoning. So if your branded Fusion gets stopped or you don't have access to branded Fusion, you really need another way to fuse. Except for Fusion Deployment, Frightfur Patchwork, and Predaplant, all the other ones don't really give you a way to Fusion summon that well. For going first, again, because you get Grand Guignol access so easily, I'm also going to give this a 4 because Grand Guignol really amplifies your going first board. It gives you another layer of interruption because Grand Guignol can activate from the graveyard. It can dump Albion to make sure you get that branded in red or branded expulsion. It sets up your branded expulsion play for Gimmick Puppet of Nightmare. If you're playing that route, you really need the Fusion Deployment route to play that. So for going first, I'm going to give it a 4. Actually, I'm going to give it a 5 because I don't think anything is better than Fusion Deployment into Cartesia for going first. Going second, it's okay. You can summon Fallen of Albaz to try to break boards. If they stop your branded Fusion with some kind of negate, you still need to be able to clear their board and play going forward. So it gives you another Fusion play, of course, if your branded Fusion gets stopped. It summons out Fallen of Albaz, which can clear boards very well by using the Albaz effect to go into like Mirror Jade to clear some of your opponent's cards. So it's pretty solid as a going second card. It doesn't directly stop anything or break anything, and therefore it doesn't get anything higher than a 3 in this case. And then for space required, it's the best one. It's only 3 cards. It's 3 Fusion Deployments and 1 Cartesia, which means that you can play this package and you can pick maybe 2 other packages as well depending on their sizes, but this is the smallest package in this list, and really there's no reason not to play Fusion Deployment package in your branded deck. And then for cost, really quick, so this kind of depends if you're playing Cartesia already. The fusion deployments themselves are very cheap, but the Blazing Cartesia is very expensive, so you have to really budget to play this package. I'm not even going to give this a rating 1 through 5 because that's kind of silly, but I'm going to estimate that the cost of this package with the Cartesia, which is probably around $45, plus the fusion deployments, you can probably get a set for around 5 to 10. So we'll go around $50 as the overall cost. On to Frightfur Patchwork. Okay, so Frightfur Patchwork is what I had always wanted to play when I was gathering my branded cards to play the deck. Let's go through the ratings. So for versatility for Frightfur, package, it opens up a lot of fusions that you wouldn't otherwise be able to go into very efficiently, and I'm talking about like Masquerade, I'm talking about Despian Quertus as your end board. It lets you go into Guardian Chimera with protection, which is kind of nice. So it really kind of, you're able to go into a lot of things and play through a lot of things that you wouldn't otherwise have. But really, the cards that it creates is not that good because all of your best cards come through the Albaz package and not through just generic fusion package. So for versatility, it's only going to get a 4. And kind of for the same discussion, for going first, it's also only really going to get a 3 because let's say you open branded fusion, you make a nice board. Okay, but if you have branded fusion plus Frightfur package, like what more do you really get? Like not that much. You might throw a Masquerade on top. It doesn't like open you up to any quick effects on your opponent's turn. It doesn't give you any more interruptions. Maybe you can get like a Dragostapelia out of this, out of the setup, but it really doesn't offer much. For going second, it's pretty cool because you can go into Guardian Chimera fairly easily. So for going second, I'll give it a 4 because of you can just turbo Guardian Chimera. It's really cool. If your fusion plays get stopped or interrupted or negated, it gives you another way to fusion summon. But, besides that, it doesn't offer you a whole lot, but just the Guardian Chimera access is really cool. For space required, it's unfortunately going to get a 2. Not only does it need 6 cards, but also they can brick very easily. So for space required, I'm also going to kind of add in, space required. I'll change it to like space/brick. For Frightfur Patchwork, if you draw either 2 Patchwork or 2 Chain or 2 Poly, your entire engine is dead. So that's what really brings down this package the most, is that it just kind of bricks. It doesn't offer you enough for the space required in your deck. Like if you're playing Frightfur package, you can't play Handtraps. So, it's just kind of like all gas, no brakes, and the gas bricks. So that's why. For cost though, it's very cheap. This is probably $10 max. So if you're kind of struggling for expenses, Patchwork is a really solid option. Okay, big Bystials. So what I mean by big Bystials is a large Bystial package. I'm talking you're playing Magnamuts, you're playing a Baldrake, you might be playing a Druis Worm. You got to play at least 2 Lubellion and like 2 Saronir. Okay, so for this is the most format dependent engine on this list. In tier format, this is the best package in the whole thing. You probably get 5s across the board. Okay, because it's never bricking, because you're always playing against tier, which means it's all your Bystials are always live. For going second, it's the best engine in here. For going first, tier plays on your turn too, so it's still great. For versatility, it's not so good, but it just gets totally made up for in the hand trap sections. But for this format, versatility is very bad for Bystials. You cannot use them to it's a 2 because it opens up the Rinbrum line with Mercurier, which is very nice, and it makes it you very consistently able to go into Rinbrum line. But anything else is just totally dead. Your opponents are probably not playing a deck that loses to Bystial unless you're playing the Branded Mirror. So that's kind of useless. So for going second, it's also a 2. It's only good against branded and some other rogue like Mathmech. Kashtira totally dead. Labyrinth pretty dead. It's okay, you can summon them, but it doesn't really stop them from doing anything. Bystial package in branded, not so great. Going first, again, it's a 2. It opens up your Rinbrom line, but nothing else. If you open like 3 Bystials, you only need 1. So there's no point in playing the big Bystial package. Searching with Magnamud is really not going to give you an interruption unless you're playing in the mirror or, you know, Mathmech, whatever. So it's just not great. And then the space requirement to play a big Bystial package is terrible. It's another 2. Up to you on how much space you dedicate to the Bystials. If you were on a play like 7 Bystials plus, the space is just so much. It bricks so hard. It doesn't help you play through interruptions. If your Branded Fusion gets stopped, all of your Bystials are totally dead. So yeah, I'm gonna actually give this a 1 for Space Brick in this format. If it was a different format, maybe better. And then for the cost, okay, so cost is gonna be huge. If you're playing 2 Lubellion, let's say 130, maybe even 140. On to the next package. This is going second cards or Handtraps. So I'm talking Ash, Nib, Triple Tactics Talents, Book of Eclipse, Imperm, and so forth. Versatility is a big plus here because no matter what deck you're playing against, Ash is probably hitting it. Nib is a little questionable on whether it's good, but I'm assuming you're playing the most versatile hand traps if you're playing the hand trap package, and I'm talking Ash Blossom and Imperm and Talents. And those are almost always live, and they almost always help you with your board, and for those reasons we're giving versatility and going first a 4, because you know, if you draw Ash, your going first end board is just +1 interruption. You're really able to combo with your other cards, and it's not really going to brick you too hard. The space requirement, again, is kind of, you know, how many hand traps are you trying to play? You know, I recommend 6 to 9 in branded. So it's really up to you on the space. I'm going to assume 6 cards minimum though. And for that, I'm going to give it a 3. You do need to commit quite a bit to going second cards, but every deck needs to commit to going second cards, or else if you lose die roll, you lose the game too often. So for that reason, I'm giving the space a 3. And then for going second ability, there's nothing better in this list. For those reasons, like going second or hand trap, you have to play some kind of going second or hand trap package in your deck to just have a chance going second. And for cost, it's really pretty low depending on which ones you're choosing. Let's say you're playing 3 Ash, 3 Imperm, which are probably about $10 a piece across the board. So that's going to be around $60. You know, if you're playing 3 Book of Eclipse, okay, those are $1 each. So yeah, 60. You can definitely play a 9 card going second hand trap package for $60, and that's fine. If you're playing Talents, obviously it's going to be a bit more. If you want to play evenly matched, that's another solid option. Evenly in the main deck is okay, and those are what, like $4 a piece? They came in the structure deck, I think. So yeah. All right, the next package, I will full disclosure admit that I have not tested this at all. I've not seen it in action at all, but I've read the card, and yeah, so it searches the Ecclesia cards, either Incredible Ecclesia or Dogmatica Ecclesia, and then dumps something like Construct. I don't like this at all because it takes too much. It takes extra deck space. That sucks. It does what Fusion Deployment does better at summoning Cartesia from your deck. And I just don't see any reason to play this. It's kind of like outdated. It was like an idea at the beginning of the format, but it's really, I think, fairly garbage. It gives you card advantage because you can add it back to your hand and stuff like that, but generally it's just not so great. For versatility, I'm gonna give it a 2. It's Fusion Deployment but worse. For going first, same thing, it's a 2. Like, yeah, it gives you the Ecclesia cards, which are kind of nice, but whatever. For going second, it's a 1. Like, what are we doing? Maybe I'm totally missing the boat here on what Branded and High Spirits is gonna do going second. And for Space Brick, it's a 3. It's a small package, yeah, but it requires an extra deck spot for Construct to use with like Despian Tragedy, and you kind of have to play extra Despias to have a discard that's valuable. So it's just not good. The cost is probably like minimal though. It's probably like $5. I don't even know. Predaplant engine. Okay, full disclosure, I've not tried this one either. Sorry guys, I just want to address it because it's really cool. I want to try it, and I think there's a lot of potential here. Unfortunately, I think it just loses to Handtraps a lot. Like branded, like what's it gonna do? You might be able to set up Dragoon before you activate branded fusion. That's why it's kind of cool, and that's why for going first, I might give it like a 5. But for going second, it's just gonna clog your hand, and the space is so big you can't play going second cards, so it like takes the place of your hand traps. You're just not gonna be able to break boards or, you know, put up interruptions, you know, on your opponent's turn very well as a going second engine, and therefore this is gonna get a 2 going second. For space, it's also gonna get a 2. It's a whole ass engine that you have to build your deck around. Yeah, I just don't see the immediate benefit of playing this engine over like hand traps and fusion deployment, for example. And then for versatility, it's actually really cool. You can go into Dragoon very well. It opens up a whole new extra deck package of like the Predaplant stuff. So I'm gonna give it a 4 for versatility, just because it's kind of neat. And then for the cost, I don't really know. I assume you're going to have to get a Dragoon. You're going to have to get all the Predaplant stuff, but I think it's all fairly cheap. I'm just going to ballpark estimate that this is going to run you about $60. I don't actually know. I haven't done enough research on the Predaplant engine. I just wanted to talk about it. And the final engine that I want to talk about is Kaiju, the Dark Kaiju plus Allure of Darkness. So this is the engine that I'm most wanting to consider switching to as my main build, because Kaijus are really strong in this particular format. This is another format dependent strategy. And this format against Kashtira and against like Mathmech and all this, and like Labyrinth, Kaijus are good against Labyrinth, dealing with the Lady Labyrinth, getting that off the board. It's kind of nice. So obviously for going second, this is a 5. It's like a going second engine. For going first though, it's a 2. Like the Allure package is nice to turbo through your deck to kind of get to your card. So even if you draw the Kaiju going first, you can have the option of alluring it away. Alluring can get your Mercurier to resolve, your Tragedy to resolve, and just dig for the interruptions that you couldn't get to otherwise. So for going first, it's not a total loss, but it's a 2. Yeah, for versatility, it's another 2, unfortunately. I mean, it like for this particular category that I've defined, versatility, like how much will your end board change by having this package? It's not very much. It just makes your deck more consistent. And for space/brick, I'm gonna give this a 4 because alluring really unbricks your hand. Like it's an unbricking engine, but as a cost, you have to play 3 Kaijus, which can brick a little bit. Going first, the Kaiju does brick you. Going second, the Kaiju is very good. So I'm gonna give this a 4. Let me know what you guys think of this rating here. And for cost, it's very cheap as well. I'm gonna give it probably probably $20 for 3 Allure, 3 Kaiju, maybe even less. I'll go 15. So yeah, let's recap. Our top rated engines, and this is of course my bias, but it's also tournament like backed, is that fusion deployment and hand traps are the best 2 engines. You can play them both in the deck at the same time, and therefore I think they're the best ones. Patchwork, Predaplant, and the Kaiju Allure engine are all equally rated in my opinion. We not only do we have to look at the totals, but we also have to look at like the lowest ratings across the board. So Patchwork is never bad in any particular area, whereas Kaiju is kind of bad going first. Predaplant is bad going second. So the consistency of Patchwork is kind of nice, and that's why it's still at a 13, whereas I think the absolute power of the Kaijus is much higher going second. Absolute power of the Predaplant is much higher going first, but that's why we have going first and going second rating to kind of balance those out. Brandon High Spirits, just get rid of that. And then Big Bystials right now, get rid of that too, man. It's just not worth the deck space. for this particular format, unless you're playing in a locals where it's like all branded players, all math mech players, then hell yeah, go big Bystial package and let it rip. Because in like a format, if branded was the only deck in the format, Bystials would be a 5 going second. It would not be considered a brick. Going first is still great because you can resolve, you can go Rinbrum and then search a follow-up interruption anyway with Magnamut, and then for versatility, it was, you know, I guess still a 2. So you can definitely argue that big Bystial should take the place of Handtraps if you're playing in a locals where Bystials are actually good all the time against branded, math mech, whatever, Tearlament, whatever. Yeah, but right now in this current meta, it's just not good. I want to give some honorable mentions to engines that I did not address directly but are possible. We'll start with Shadal's. You can play Shadal's, you can go into Winda and stuff, I guess. But nah, don't do it. Invoked, same thing, terrible. Tearlament. Yeah, you can tech a tier card or 2 and then kind of do some tier fusion stuff, and that's kind of cool, but it's not really an engine. It's like a card. Unless you're playing like fusion deployment, Rhino Heart, and like Havness and Merly, then it might be a decent enough engine, but really I don't know enough about that, and there's no reason to play that stuff over like a pure branded deck. So yeah, let me know what you guys thought of this ratings video. What do you guys play? What would you change in these ratings? How can, you know, we make the branded deck better? What do you guys think? Leave a comment, like, subscribe, the usual. We'll see you guys later.